that we are recording the meeting, and if everyone would please mute when they're not speaking, that's very helpful. Then I don't have to guess where the background noise comes from, because invariably my dog or somebody barks, or something. So after saying that, I'll turn it over to Fred as our chair.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. It's a big day. We have our election in the middle of the pandemic, and it's been a lot of work, but it seems like we've got a big turnout. So we'll let people talk about that in a second, but I just want to welcome everybody. And, consistent, with the meeting remotely, we're doing this by Zoom. I want to make sure that everybody knows that the meeting is being recorded, and consistent with what we've done with our other Zoom meetings. Once we finish the meeting, then we will be posting it on our YouTube channel for anybody who wants to watch it again, but you are all being recorded, and that is your warning. So with that, welcome. I'm glad to see everybody. And the first order of business is to approve the agenda. So I think that everybody's seen the agenda that I sent around. It's a light agenda, so hopefully it'll be a short meeting. So does anybody want to make a motion to approve the agenda and get going? Got a motion by Mark and a second by Eva. All right, any comments or discussion about the agenda? Okay, all those in favor of approving the agenda? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like 7. I can't see Don. I can't really see you. I can't see if you voted yes or no. And you're on mute, so I can't hear you either.
Is Dawn even in?
Yeah, Don, well, you can't see, I can only just see the top of your head, Don. Are you voting?
I'm asking him to unmute. I don't think.
Raise your hand if you're voting yes on the agenda.
Yeah, if we
there's
can't
Dawn.
see you, Don, we can't see how you're voting.
I'll take that as a yes, Don. All right, so we got 8-0 unanimous to approval of the agenda. All right, and then Mandy just circulated the minutes about an hour or so ago. They look very detailed to me. I don't know if everybody else has had an opportunity to review them, but if people have reviewed it and looked at it, we can decide whether we want to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Is it Robert? If you're on mute.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
Discussion?
Is that you, Corla, the second?
No, not yet. There's some corrections that need to be made.
Okay, well, we need a second for the motion, then we can talk about the corrections. There's a second.
I'll second the motion. Second the motion with these corrections.
Okay, and what corrections do you have, Corla?
Well, it's in the beginning. You recorded, Mandy, that I moved and seconded approval of the minutes, and the same person can't do that. And I think Margaret, I went back and looked at the first meeting. I think Margaret and Robert did that on approval of the minutes. And then item number 2, there's just a typo. It's abstain, not obtain. That was probably your spell check. And then I'm not sure how you're listing who was present, but Miller Saltzman was there as a representative, looking at the chat. And then Andrea Schlageter was there representing OB Planning Board. And there were other attendees. I'm sure you're probably not listing everybody that's there. And as an aside, I'm going to start taking screenshots of who's present depending on how our recording goes. I'm trying some new settings to see if I can capture attendance rather than just speaker view, but I'm not sure how that's going to go. But I will be taking screenshots to make sure we know who's in attendance for next year's election. So anyway, those are the only 2 things, Mandy. Thank you. And that excellent minutes.
Looks like what I received, Carla, it's correct. The email I got this afternoon, Margaret makes a motion to approve the agenda.
Yeah, I do have that, and then Robert seconds the motion.
Yeah, so I think that's correct, isn't it? Or
yeah, I do see that is correct. I pulled up the minutes to verify, but I do see that it is correct.
Miller Saltzman report, he's listed in the government reports.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, there he is. And then what I got, it says approve the minutes. I made the motion and I seconded the motion.
Oh, for the meeting minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Again,
so,
I know I didn't move in second.
okay. I'll have to go look at the video to confirm. Or did you say Margaret?
I think it was Margaret and Robert second. Yeah.
That was the agenda.
Yeah.
Oh, the agenda. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I was mixed up with that between the minutes. Sorry.
Yeah,
My
I'm
mistake.
sorry. That was at the beginning. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. I will look at that portion of the video, but I will make all the appropriate changes.
And again, on action item 2 on the Marseille Street CDP, you said Corla obtains, and I think your spell check got you instead of abstain.
Yes.
So, yeah,
All right, I'll work on that. Thank you for bringing that to my
Yeah.
attention.
excellent minutes again, Mandy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
they are more detailed than our normal ones. So subject to, Mandy, you'll make those changes. So subject to Mandy making those corrections, all those in favor of approving the minutes, raise your hand. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Don, can you wave your hand up high? Or not? All right, so I got 7 yeses, and I got Eva did not vote. I assume you're abstaining, Eva?
Yeah, I missed the meeting.
Okay, so we got an abstention by Eva. And Don, I can't tell which way you're voting and you're on mute. So if you want to tell me, I'd be happy to record your vote. All right. All right, we're going to go with the 7 yeses and 1 abstention then.
Present and not voting.
Present and 1 present and not voting. All right. All right, board officer reports. Well, as president, I mean, I'm excited that we actually got an election, and I'm going to let the election committee talk about it. I can only talk about it from a distance, but when I dropped off my ballot about an hour ago, the ballot box was very full out by the library, and I understand that the mail had a bunch of ballots too. So that all sounds good. So I think it's healthy for the organization to have an election. That's obviously the biggest thing that we have. And we missed one last year, and it's important for the organization moving forward. So I'm excited that it's election day, and we'll find out what's going to happen. And with that, I will turn it over to the first vice chair, David, if he wants to make a report.
I don't have a report other than just to report that the election appears to be going well. We had a sizable number of, surprisingly large number, in my view, of mail ballots that were collected this afternoon after the final mail delivery to the post office box. They were deposited into the ballot box that was then posted at the library. And that has now closed as of 6 o'clock. And I'm waiting to hear from the ballot drop off was manned by Jim Hare and Paul Grimes and Margaret. And they are now on their way to the counting room that we have set up at the St. Agnes Church St. Agnes Church Hall. And we will be convening, I will be convening with them virtually, and they're going to be physically present together in the hall, and we'll begin the process of counting the ballots. And I think the plan is, even if this meeting concludes before the counting has been completed, we will keep this Zoom chat open. And when when the time comes for me to join the other committee members for the count, I'll move into a breakout room, and they'll be in a breakout room as well. And then we'll work together to count the ballots. And then when that counting is complete, we will then, depending upon, well, this meeting almost certainly will be over by the time that we get there, because it's a pretty short agenda. But when we're done and we're ready to announce the results, assuming we're ready to announce results this evening, we'll come back into this Zoom and announce the results here. And then Paul will post them on the website.
Well, thank you. That's a great report, David. I know it's a big issue, so I And we have the election down later on the agenda, but I mean, it seems like you just went over it. So I don't know if anybody wants to ask David a question about the election now or. I do not see any hands. So, oh, I got one from Mark. Mark, go ahead.
David, thank you for taking on the task of the election subcommittee here. What I saw down there, David, there was a group of ballots that were coming to the ballot box that were in addition to the single person that was delivering the ballot. So what I saw, they were putting some ballots, these ballots that were in addition to the single, the person that was handing in the ballots in a box separated from the ballot box. Do you know what's going to happen with those ballots at this point?
We're treating those right now as provisional ballots, and they will be counted separately. And then we'll figure out whether those ballots make a difference or not. And then if they do, then we're going to have to, as a committee, make a decision about how to treat them. So not with, unfortunately, it didn't occur to us until later in the process that somebody might not realize that you're not supposed to cast a ballot for somebody else. There's been some, semantical differences between what does it mean to cast a ballot? What does it mean to deposit a ballot? Hello, Margaret. What does it mean to cast a ballot? What does it mean to deposit a ballot? Those are perfectly legitimate questions. Our bylaws are pretty clear. Another semantical issues. What's a proxy? Our bylaws are pretty clear. There isn't proxy voting. But a proxy vote, probably in the most technical sense, is a vote that is literally cast by somebody else for somebody, as opposed to a vote that has been cast and then deposited by somebody else. That's probably not, in the strictest sense, a proxy vote. Oh, there's Jim. All right. Oh, I know where you guys are. You're at the hall. Okay, cool. Excellent.
Paul's there too.
Yeah, great. All right. And we didn't, it didn't really occur to us until later in the process, after we had sort of set all the other details, that, the ballot says deposit your ballot. We've never in the past had any facility for somebody else to cast a ballot for somebody else. You've always had to present yourself in person at the polling place, identify yourself, provide the evidence of eligibility, take your ballot, cast it, and deposit it all yourself.
Where did these come from?
Excuse me? It was just background noise, I guess. Okay. And so we decided we'd make a clarification. I'm afraid that clarification was necessary and was too late. Because I don't know the numbers yet. And when we go back into the breakout room for the count, we'll have an opportunity to talk about just how many of those ballots we have. But the answer to your question, Mark, is we've set them aside. We've identified them. Basically, anybody who showed up with more than one ballot, we asked them to identify which ballot was theirs. And we took the ballots that were not theirs and we set them aside, call them provisional, and we'll figure out what we're going to do with them once we get into it. Robert.
Also on the issue that was touched on briefly a few nights ago about that each ballot has to be in its own separate envelope, but I don't think that was entirely clear to people that maybe put their ballots in the same envelope in the same household.
Couldn't have been clearer.
Really, if you read that, you think it states that each ballot needs to be in their own individual envelope?
I think that's what it says. I think it's pretty clear. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see. I don't know what the actual. We haven't opened the ballots that came in the mail. I don't know that we've opened any ballots for that matter. So I don't know how many fall into the category you described.
Okay. Well,
but in my view, Robert, I don't think it could have been any clearer. A ballot, a a ballot, a voter certification in an envelope.
Yeah, right. But if you have a husband and wife together doing their ballots, I don't know if they would have thought, oh, we need 2 separate envelopes. Let's put it in one.
No, I know. I realize they may not have thought that, but they couldn't have thought that after having read the instructions.
Okay.
Or
Well,
they misunderstood the instructions, and I can't tell you that somebody wouldn't understand instructions. People misunderstand very clear, plain meaning words all the time.
And people often rush without reading the instructions.
Correct. They make
Don, do you
assumptions
have a
about
question?
things, and those assumptions sometimes are not true.
Yeah. Don, do you have a question? Go ahead. You're on mute though.
Don, you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you now.
Forgive me if I came in late and misunderstood. Are all the mail ballots provisional now, or just some of them?
No, I don't know that any of them are provisional. We haven't discussed that yet.
Thank
I
you.
don't know. To the extent that somebody brought ballots into the mailbox place, to Mailboxes Express, rather than depositing them in the mail, USPS mail, and had them delivered that way, if somebody brought them in and handed them over the counter to the clerk or whoever was there, and those ballots were bundled with other ballots, then those will be considered provisional. But other than that, I think any ballot that came in the mail, in the regular mail with a stamp, aside from the issue that Robert's raised about the possibility that some of those envelopes have more than one ballot in them, those all will be treated as good votes.
Thank you.
Anybody
Any
else?
other election questions?
So Corla, I think now would be a time for you to open up that breakout room if it isn't already.
Hey, do you all want to go in it?
And I'm ready to go in it. I think Paul and Margaret are ready. If and Jim is here too, and Jim and Tony. Tony, I don't know what your plan is. Do you want to join us in the breakout room while we count? Help us with making some of these calls that we need to make with respect to these provisional ballots and so forth, and just sort of dealing with some of the undoubted issues that we're going to have to struggle with here over the next few hours.
Well, you guys are the experts on the, the limits of the plan area. And I saw that spreadsheet that you had that looked very good. It looked as good as the map that we used to use, but I don't know, are you planning on using that one tonight?
Yeah, we're going to use that spreadsheet. And just so you all can see it, I don't have the ability to screen share. And if I did, I wouldn't do it anyway. But we have a sheet here that Paul has been great, by the way, for a guy who's not on the board. I mean, oh my gosh, Paul has just been over the top, above and beyond in every respect. Many, many kudos to him. I mean, Margaret and Jim, you guys have been great too. And it's all been, we've worked like a well-oiled, broken down old machine. But it's worked out. Anyway, Paul put together this form. We're going to use it this evening. You can all see that, not particularly well, but it's a count form. You see the names of the candidates are all on this side. Up here, we're going to batch batch the ballots, I think, in batches of 10. And then we're going to count those 10. And then we're going to set those aside and identify them as batch 1, 2, 3, whatever. And then we're going to hopefully have at the end, using a different form, which is right somewhere here. This form here, we're going to actually count the votes as we go through, and we'll do a strike for each vote, and then we'll tally it in that corner as the batches go along. And the idea is that if we come up with an inconsistency, rather than having to go back and recount all the ballots, we'll only have to recount a batch where there was an inconsistency. So Paul came up with this plan. I think it's very effective and efficient. Hopefully it will help us get through it quickly. We have a lot more votes, frankly, than any of us, I think, anticipated. And so it may take us a little while. Anyway, that's it.
What about the breakout room? How are we?
Let me explain that. Tony, I don't know if you've used a breakout room, but I am assigning who's able to go in there since it's a vote counting and it's for the election committee only, and would also be for Tony as our city representative. So I will assign you to that room as well, Tony, and then you guys go in the breakout room. You can come back and forth. There'll be buttons down below where you can come back in and out of this meeting if you want. and I'm going to open that room right now. So David, Margaret, Jim, and Tony should all have invitations to move to that breakout room.
And all I do is
Goodbye,
click on
everybody.
join, right?
Yeah,
Yes, just click on join. Yeah.
goodbye.
Okay. Do that now?
Yes, whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Okay, I think they're all in there. And so they're in their own separate thing, like it would be similar if we were having an in-person meeting and doing their thing. So Tony will be overseeing that from Zoom.
So there was some mention that they might make a report later today. Is that?
Well, I've made this meeting really long. I'm not going to monitor it, sit here. I'm not going to sit here all night, but I'll come back and forth. And, you know, we have phones and we can text. So anybody's welcome to stay in this Zoom meeting just in case. I don't know how many ballots there are to count. We'll get a report at some point back and forth and then go from there.
Okay, so essentially, right, if people are interested, they could go off video and mute themselves, and then if something happened, then they could
right. You could check back, you know, like I was thinking I'd check every 30 minutes or something, or unless you know, just whatever. I don't know. We just thought we'd keep it open just in case.
Okay, well, that sounds good. All right, well, let's move through the agenda then. So do we have any, Mandy, do you have any other report as a secretary?
I don't. I just wanted to make a non-agenda public whenever it's appropriate.
Okay, well, it'll be pretty soon.
Right.
Corla, do you have a treasurer's report?
I do. Our balance is the same, no activity, 757.81, and I'm expecting to get some requests for reimbursement from the election committee, but I don't know yet. It's been so much work. This committee has had 6 weeks to put this together, and they've just done an amazing job. So that's the treasury report. Oh, and let me announce, thank you to Mailboxes Express at 1220 Rosecrans Street. They donate our mailbox. And Jason's really nice down there, and he just bends over backwards for the community as well as for our board. So thank you, Mailboxes Express.
Okay. And then we had Tony, so we might have pestered him with some questions. He's left before we could ask him any other questions. So it was nice to have him, though, for a short time and see him. So we won't be able to ask him any questions right now. So we are then going to non-agenda public comment. So I'm going to let Mandy go first.
Hi, I just want to let everyone know there's a recall petition signing event this Saturday at Stumps from 10 to 1, as well as a drive-up signing event at Famosa Canyon right across from Cleator Park from 10 to 1 this Saturday. If any of the community members are interested in signing the Recall Jen Campbell petition. That's all I have to say.
Corla, do you have a question, or do you want to?
No, I have on agenda.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I just saw the neatest thing on the news, and we usually discuss this in project review kind of stuff, but we didn't get to have a meeting this month. Mark's final meeting, he didn't have any work to do. So anyway, I saw a thing about 3D printed homes out of concrete. I don't know if any of you all saw that, but apparently it's pretty cost effective, and it was just super interesting. I thought it was great. And then on another note, I don't know if you guys have all signed up, but DSD is all virtual, and you can go online and sign up to get all these notifications and stuff. And I get some of the strangest notifications from the city, but the latest was the Cannabis Equity Program. And I thought that was interesting. There's a governor's grant for the Cannabis Equity Program. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but I will say that there's always someone at CPC that speaks at non-agenda against all these cannabis things. So I don't know. I just thought that was really an interesting thing. And then the city is, and maybe one of our government reporters will do this, the city's calling for applications to the Board of Building Appeals and Advisors. I got that email. If anybody's interested, I can share that, or we may get more information from someone that's way more knowledgeable. And I want to thank the interim board members for their service while some of them are still in the meeting. And especially we said, thank you, Paul Grimes. And then I wanted to ask if anyone joined the SANDAG discussion on the 2021 regional plan about the funding strategies. And that may be coming up in one of our government reports as well. But as of now, that's sort of non-agenda. So thank you.
Okay, Tracy, did you have a non-agenda comment? I'll get you next, Lucky.
Yeah, actually, I have some commission and art related things that I'm trying to share with the community of District 2. Most of you know that I'm a commissioner for the San Diego Commission for Arts and Culture. So I kind of feel like it's my job to share art opportunities with everyone. So the first one I wanted to share was that the San Diego Public Library is asking for everyone's help to create a photographic historical collection entitled Snapshot, a Photo Journal of Life During the Pandemic. They are currently asking San Diegans to submit 1 to 10 photos, which could reflect a moment in time, a feeling, or an expression of how you would summarize the pandemic experience. The deadline to submit these photographs is June 30th, and I'll make sure to post a link in the chat for that. And then in addition, the San Diego Commission for Arts and Culture has put out a call for proposals for any artist or artist teams who are interested in creating public art for Bayer Park, which is a new 8-acre park that will be located in San Ysidro Otay Mesa area. The artist or artist team will design, fabricate, and transport permanent site-specific artwork and consult during installation of artwork at the site with side by side with the city. The art budget is approximately $170,000, which is why I'm trying to get this out in the community because it's huge. It is available to any artist or artist team who is legally authorized to work in the US and they are eligible to apply. So the deadline for this is coming up really quick. It's March 25th, and I've been trying to make the rounds to the meetings, and I know some of you guys run late in the month. So I'm really hoping that this information can get out to whoever you know who's available to apply. And I will post the link to that application in the chat as well. And I'll also copy in my email address in case anyone has any additional questions. But thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. I'm thinking about posting
Seems to be working okay.
my pictures from the first time I went to Costco in the pandemic, and the line was around the building. And then when I got to the front, they had a sign up that said, "No toilet
working okay."
House." All right, Lucky, you're up. You got a comment? Eve, I'll go to you next.
Yeah, I thought I had the paper in here with me from this morning. I read the paper every morning, and there was an article in there about the states finally weighing in on large housing development projects in fire-prone areas and asking for them to cease and not proceed with that. I think there was one 1,000 dwelling thing that was located. I don't know why I can't remember it, but it was one of our committees. Probably affects. It might have been a county thing, but these large developments where they consider they're in a fire hazard area and they've got a 2-lane road that everybody has to get down to escape any hazards or something like that. The state, I believe, is saying that that's a very bad situation, and they're going to weigh in on that in the future. So that might affect our future housing stock going forward. Is the only reason I mentioned it for us. So there you go.
Thank you, Lucky. Eva, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just really more an update than a comment. You may remember pre-COVID, probably about 1.5 years ago, we sent a letter to the city urging the city to consider compost recycling for neighborhoods that hadn't yet started that process. And I know both Mandy and I followed up with the city a few times after that to, inquire more about the process and, what the city's plan moving forward was. And it was really, there was no response at the time, and there was a very unclear plan. What sounds like now there's a State Bill 1383, that may actually force the city's hand in this matter. This new state bill increases or the city will need to increase green recycling, and not just yard waste recycling, but the state mandates that this recycling will also include the recycling of food scraps and other yard waste other than just shrubs or greenery. I again have reached out to the city to clarify timeline or the process. I only have this information from what was reported in the Union Tribune, but I'm hopeful that in the not too distant future, individual households will get a green bin and be able to start compost recycling in addition to just their regular recycling and regular trash pickup.
Well, Eva, I appreciate the follow-up. I remember that we did that a year ago, and I think we talked about the fact that Portland does it, so San Diego ought to be able to do it too. So I think I might have read that same article in the paper. Lucky, did you want to make another comment? You're on mute.
I forget to do that. Thank you. As I recall, I don't know if you mentioned already that the article was fairly clear about, though, it was going to require that organic food waste has to be separated out. Right now, I put that in my bag with everything else that is not recyclable for the most part. But so I guess instead of doing that, you have to have almost a third receptacle, don't you? One for organic materials. It was reminiscent to me of many, many years ago when we actually had garbage cans. And that's possibly how this, I wasn't sure that it did say green receptacle, but I'm not sure they're talking about the same green receptacle we currently throw our yard stuff in. So it could be a real problem in some kitchens to enact this thing. It's more than just it seemed fairly easy to begin with, but then when I read it more, I thought, gee, I really don't like that too much, but that was just me. All right, that's all I had.
Okay, do we have any other non-agenda public comment? Well, I want to make one quick comment here, and we talked about it a little bit before the meeting started, but Mark's been on the board for a long time, and a lot of you actually have served on project review with Mark, so you've actually seen it more up close and personal. But certainly over the last year as a chair, right, I get all kinds of project review questions, which I hit forward and send to Mark, and they get magically taken care of, and people seem very, very satisfied. And in the pandemic, we were behind, and Mark got us all caught up, and he's just been a tremendous, tremendous asset to the board. And so this is his last official meeting as a board member. And so while we're on the record, I just wanted to say, Mark, I just wish every board member was as great as you. So thank you for your service.
Hear, hear. Thank you, Mark. He's a rock star.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, great job, Mark. I know everybody's told you that you're going to be one heck of an asset to lose, but feel free to drop back in as a drop-in citizen anytime.
Well, he said it before the meeting, Lucky, so I'll just put this on the record. Before the meeting, he said he might serve as a public member on project review.
Oh, that would be great. Great.
I think he might have some support for that.
That would be super.
Yeah. All right. So we will move to government reports. So we will start. Let's see, who do we got here? Why don't we start with Monique and for Jen Campbell, and let us know what's going on in District 2.
Yes. Hi, everybody. This is Monique with Council President Jennifer Campbell's office. I do have a few quick updates. First of all, starting today, the city is going to be doing a short little survey. They're going to be calling approximately 900 residents in the city of San Diego. It's going to be randomized, but I want to let everybody know that if you do get a call and they're talking about stormwater funding strategies and taking a survey, it is from the city of San Diego. They'll be doing this for the next 8 to 10 days. They're just trying to get a data collection and samples of what would happen for increase in stormwater funds in the future. So they're just kind of testing the water. They just want to see what's happening. So if you do get a call, it's real. It's from the city of San Diego. It's not a scam. And next off, I want to talk about is that the city council issued or passed a resolution condemning hate against the API community. We all know what's going out there and the rise of hate towards the Asian community in the United States since the pandemic took place. So they went ahead and just made a stance that the city of San Diego will not be tolerated for any type of hate or extremism that is taking place against those communities. Then also the San Diego Housing Commission has entered a stability program. They're accepting applications. They're helping people find rental sources if you're having trouble paying your rent. And the California also launched a COVID-19 rent relief call center. It's available from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every single day. And I will include the number into the chat box when I am done. Is there any questions?
Yeah, any questions for Monique? All right, I don't see any, so thank you, Monique. We appreciate the update. Why don't we go to Coda and see what the mayor's up to? And Coda, I appreciate all of you've done a very good job sending me stuff, which I push out to the rest of the board, and then they can send it to other people. So thank you. I appreciate you've been very responsive and
of course
doing a good job.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Well, my name is Coda Zeiser. I'm the District 2 Community Rep for Mayor Gloria. A few quick updates from our office. Biden did pass the American Rescue Plan. So that is the federal stimulus bill. The city of San Diego is set to receive roughly $300 million in federal relief. The priorities that Mayor Gloria has outlined of how we plan to allocate and use those funds is number one, first and foremost, obviously COVID-19, expanding our vaccination efforts, securing more doses, and hiring additional staff for our vaccine sites. Second is protecting core neighborhood services and jobs. We are looking at a roughly $154 million budget deficit this upcoming fiscal year. And so these funds will really help us bridge that gap, make sure that we're not seeing a discontinuation of services in our neighborhoods. And then finally is providing restaurants and small businesses with relief as they plan to, or as we reopen the economy, as we try to recover, making sure that they have proper resources to be able to do so. We are still waiting for some clarity from Washington about how specifically we can use these funds, if there's anything that is maybe earmarked for certain issues or causes. And so while we wait for that clarity, these are just the priorities moving forward and what we'll be prioritizing. I did send, as Fred distributed, is that emergency rental assistance from the San Diego Housing Commission. It's nearly $90 million in emergency rental relief for residential tenants. That application did go live on Monday. And so if you are struggling to pay rent, if you know somebody who's struggling to pay rent, or maybe you're a landlord whose tenants are struggling to pay, you can actually fill out an application on their behalf as long as they review and approve it. So I'll be putting a link in the chat so you can check out the application if you need to. And then we did call on the San Diego Unified School District to provide us a thorough and comprehensive timeline of when we can safely reopen our schools. They did provide us an April 12th start date, and that's a return to hybrid learning. So partially in person, partially virtual still. I know it may not be the full return that people were hoping for, but it is steps in the right direction. It's light at the end of the tunnel, especially considering the fact that teachers and educators became eligible to receive the vaccine on February 27th. And so they're returning to the classroom protected. And then lastly is the San Diego Library Foundation survey. So our libraries are asking for the community's input about how they can better serve the communities and neighborhoods. What type of programs, webinars, seminars would you like to see them host? And so I'll be putting a link in the chat as well for that. That survey will be live until April 17th. I'm more than happy to take questions, and I'll be putting my info in the chat as well so you guys can reach out directly.
All right, go ahead. Lucky, I think you got your hand up first.
All righty. Yeah, Coda, the question I had was just so I'm clear. So we're getting $300 million from the Fed.
Mm-hmm.
And then you mentioned that we have a shortfall of $154 million. Does that, are you saying that $300 million does not cover our shortfall at all? We actually have a shortfall of $454 million?
No. So it's the $154 million. I know that the federal relief is larger than that, but the federal relief is a one-time payment that we receive soon. The $154 million is just an estimate over the cost or the expenses of this next year. And so this 300 million can't just all go to the general fund to bridge that gap. Some of it is going to have to go to specific things like homelessness, infrastructure, whatever. It doesn't go just to cover the cost of operating the city. And so while the federal funds could cover the entire gap there, it is not, it doesn't just go all into the city's general fund.
Well,
Does that make sense? I know it's a bit confusing. Yeah.
I understand, but isn't a large portion of that $300 million being touted to be put into the pension fund? Isn't that true?
I'm not too sure about that. I haven't heard specifically about anything about the pension fund. I can look into that. I know that our budget is being finalized sometime in early April. And so we'll kind of have a better understanding at that point of how we're going to be distributing those funds specifically.
Okay, well, the Times was reporting it as something like $30-40 million would be diverted specifically into the city's pension fund.
Gotcha. Okay, I can get you confirmation on that.
Okay.
Okay. Corla, I think I saw you with a question.
Yeah, just a quick, Mayor Gloria was at CPC meeting last month, and I have some other notes on things he said, but I wrote down that he was expecting 25 million or so. Was this 300 million a surprise to you guys? Or were you expecting that much? Or
the 25 million is specifically, I believe, if it's what I'm referring to, it's specifically for homelessness issues and solutions. So that is specifically, that's on top of the 300 million. So that's a different pot of money that this is coming out of.
All right, Coda, I don't know if you're the person to ask or whether it's going to be Andrew, but I'll give Andrew a heads up on questions I'm going to ask him. My son has underlying health conditions. He became eligible on Monday. So we've been spending the last 4 or 5 days trying to get an appointment, and apparently there's no appointments for any COVID vaccinations in San Diego County. So do you have any update for us as to the availability of vaccine?
Yeah, I can speak on the city side. I mean, for us, that vaccine supply is just so inconsistent. Sometimes we'll have extra and a surplus. Other times we're facing a shortage. And so that's why it's been so inconsistent. That's why vaccine appointments fill up so quickly or aren't available at all. It's just we don't know on a week-to-week basis how many we're securing. The county may be able to, Andrew may be able to better speak on the county side of it, but the city receives a pretty small dosage from our federal and state partners, and it's just such an inconsistent supply. And I hate to say that, it's a toss-up, but sometimes it really is. That's why unfortunately, we face a shortage like this. It's unfortunate though, since we just entered a new entered a new vaccine tier, a lot of people became eligible, and this is when we're facing a shortage. And so from the city's perspective, at least, it's just a week by week, it changes and it fluctuates so consistently.
All right, well, I'm just going to say, as a person on the front lines with a son at risk, it's a year into the pandemic, it's a frustrating thing for people and
absolutely
difficult. And I know that I'm sure everybody wants to get the vaccine so that that we can get out of it. But anyway,
I hear you.
All right, well, thank you. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to turn it over to Andrew then.
Thanks, Fred. Great announcements, Monique, Coda. To answer your question, Fred, the county just ordered 100,000 vaccines. This should be arriving next week. So I've been helping a lot of constituents try to navigate, find the second appointment. So hopefully next week it should be much, much easier. Just a couple of quick announcements. So yesterday, establishments across San Diego County were allowed to start moving operations indoors with capacity limits as the region moves from the most restrictive purple tier and to the less restrictive red tier. The county press briefing was today at 2:30, and if you missed it, it'll be on Facebook under the county page. Another big initiative that we got passed at the Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday was to create a Little Libraries initiative to boost literacy in low-income and communities of color by giving the people and children living in them more opportunities to have books to read in their homes. I did want to share some exciting news. We just posted data today, the other day actually, about the South region now leads the county in highest vaccination rate. So 94.3 of the 65 years and older population in South have received at least one dose of the vaccine. We're the leading second successful city in California in vaccination, which is awesome. It's been a huge collaborative effort. And as of March 15th, vaccinations are available to those with certain health conditions, disabilities, illness, living spaces, or work environments that put them at higher risk for serious COVID-19 illness. And I'm more than happy to put my email in the chat, and when those vaccinations due, if you're having any kind of trouble, feel free to message me and I'll help you navigate through the county page. And that's it from my end. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Andrew. I might be sending you an email, but I'll open it up for anybody. Does anybody else have questions for Andrew? And as people are thinking about it, I'm just going to ask you, there was also the question last time, because Petco, the Petco Superstation is closing down, and there was talk about opening one at the sports arena. What's the status with Petco closing and opening new vaccination centers?
Petco, people are ready to have baseball back, so they're going to close down the Petco site. In terms of having another super site, I'm not sure where they'll be replacing that site. But as soon as I hear, I'm more than happy to pass that information along to you, Fred.
All right, send it to me and I'll send it out to everybody else. Any other questions? All right. How about Mushka, would you like to make any report?
Sure, actually. Good afternoon, everyone. Actually has been a while since I have provided an update on Navy's NAVWAR OTC revitalization. So I think it's a good time to recap the community on that project. If you haven't already done so, for those who are interested, I would highly encourage you to visit the project website. I will include it in the chat section right now. And that way you can receive the most up-to-date information, sign up for the newsletter. And then also there's a lot of great information there. But just to quickly recap, OTC revitalization effort is in support of NAVWAR, which is the Naval Information Warfare Systems Command, which they have a very vital cybersecurity mission, and they provide network sensors and systems to connect various naval components. So very vital, not only to the Navy, but also to our national security. OTC, which is Old Town campus, it is part of Naval Base Point Loma, and it is that 70 acres of land that is right off of Pacific Highway, the large warehouses that you can see if you drive on Pac Highway. So that the goal of this project is to provide NAVWAR with efficient, state-of-the-art and secure facilities. Their current facilities are outdated for their mission, and they do not meet their mission requirements. It's very vital for us to provide them with the type of facilities that they can efficiently be able to conduct their mission. Navy is currently working and we are in the process of developing our environmental impact statement as required by National Environmental Policy Act. Currently we have identified and analyzing 5 different alternatives. 2 of those alternatives do include partnership with SANDAC, and for them to build potentially a transit hub on the site. We are anticipating the draft EIS to come out and become public sometimes this summer. And that will be followed up by 60-day public comment period. We will also have open houses where you can meet the environmental team, ask questions. We're also
it's just like a bootleg.
I think I have a hot mic there.
Hey,
I think it may be yours.
We can hear you talking. Can you mute yourself, please? Thank you.
Sorry. So we are also planning to finalize our environmental analysis process by the end of this calendar year. So while the draft EIS we had anticipated to become public a little bit earlier, we're still tracking it for this summer, but overall it has not impacted the project schedule, and we're still planning to close and finalize the environmental analysis by the end of calendar year, after which we will have a preferred alternative and a way to move forward. That's all I have for today. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Do we have any questions for Muska? All right, I see none. So thank you very much. I'm glad that you gave the report, and it was good to hear from you. DK, since we could hear you talking, we're going to make you go next for Midway.
Awesome. My sincere apologies. I was on a phone and then I got disconnected, but I am here now. Good evening. And so from our Midway Pacific Planning group, so we actually had our meeting yesterday. Didn't have any action items. We basically spent the majority of the meeting talking about Standag's most recent community forum that they held about a week ago regarding the Essential Mobility Hub. And I participated in that. I know probably a number of the folks on this body participated on that. Not a lot. I haven't heard any updates whatsoever on the sports arena redevelopment or what might happen on that site. That is essentially the gist of my report. It's been a quiet last few weeks, which we like. We did have some mass vaccination at one of our Orchard senior living apartments. A couple of our board members live there, and they worked with the council office and the fire department to get some vaccinations going for the residents there. So that was a nice little win. But other than that, I said it's been quiet down here in Midway these last few weeks.
That sounds good. Quiet's okay sometimes.
Yeah, we'll live with quiet.
Any questions for DK? Sounds like
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Carla. Go ahead.
DK, are you talking about where they were the meeting where they were discussing the regional plan and the funding strategies?
So they touched on the funding strategies, but the meeting, it was last week Thursday, so a week ago tonight. And yes, that they went over more so, it was the different configurations for the proposed Central Mobility Hub. So that's like the Navwire development, but then, so basically they presented 3 different configurations. 2 of them were different sort of iterations of essentially the same thing on the Navwire site. And the third, what they call concept, it was concepts that they titled these things at. So the third concept was actually located further down Pacific Highway near things like the ITB, the Intertrans, I don't remember the meaning of that acronym, but they call it the ITB. So that was the meeting that I went to, and I did participate in that. It was actually a very, like, in my opinion, comprehensive meeting that they put through. And so they had like a lot of input from the various different attendees regarding like votes. Like they had like a, you know, like with Zoom, you can do like a poll. So they had a couple different iterations of a polling feature where they asked us for, you know, do you prefer this kind of transit, that kind of transit? Do you want this over there, this over there? The entire thing is now posted online. They recorded the video, the meeting. And what I can do is find that link. They sent it to those of us who registered, and I'll drop it in the chat where you can see what it is that the entire, like I said, the entire meeting is recorded there, and like how the folks who were participating in real time, how they voted on those items.
Thank you. I was just curious, this is going to be bazillions of dollars. I just wondered how they were planning on funding it, if they had any ideas. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a combination of federal dollars. I know that's Council Member Peters, or excuse me, Congress Member Peters, a couple years ago wrote some legislation that essentially it changes the algorithm that the federal government uses when they go to award dollars to projects. So it's a combination of that kind of stuff, this COVID stimulus, and then I think they're talking about a ballot measure of some kind in either 2022 or perhaps even 2024. You're right, it's a massive financial commitment, and I think they're going to have to identify numerous different funding sources in order to see this thing come to fruition.
Okay, any other questions? All right, Tracy, last but not least, OB, do you have any updates for us?
We had our elections.
You did?
Yeah, we did. And we did the online and, you know, a couple of different ways of getting votes to us. And more people voted online than they did via in paper. It wasn't as robust as I thought it was going to be, or I hoped it would be, but we still had votes and it was successful. And if we get stuck having to do it again next year this way, then we'll probably do the same thing. We also sent a letter to City Council in regards to the STR ordinance and their quality of life metrics. So I guess they have established a number of quality of life metrics, and the board discussed additional and alternative ones that could be used to determine whether or not changes need to be made in the STVR ordinance. So some of those options were to take stock of the NOAH housing, cost of general housing, public school enrollments, increases on rent, both commercial and residential, STVR related nuisance calls to the police and code enforcement, TOT revenue from STVRs, increase in trash pickups, and all of these we requested that they be done or evaluated on a regular frequency so that we could have a better gauge of how their current STVR ordinances are working or as they progress. I guess, you know, there's a number of things that we didn't feel like they were going to look at that were really important. So yeah, so that was essentially the only business that we took care of last month. But that was it.
Okay,
Thanks.
any questions for Tracy? Don, go ahead.
I'm trying to unmute. Tracy, did you fill all your seats?
No, we did not. No, we didn't have.
You still have open seats under the
Yeah,
district?
we actually didn't have people running for 3 of our seats or 3 of our districts. So yeah, we have openings. So if you know anybody who lives in the OB planning area, let them know. Appointments are available. So let me know or let them know.
So your procedure is if no one runs and it's still open, you appoint somebody?
Yes.
Do they have to be a member of that sub-district?
They have to, no, not for an appointment. You can be in any district for an appointment. But the following year, when the election cycle comes up, you have to run in the district in which you live. So you can be appointed to fill the seat so that we have ample members and ample voices. But when your election comes back up, you have to run in the area that you live. So
Well, under that system, do you have 2 people that are running against each other while nobody's running in that original vacant district?
you can, yeah. Yeah, so for example, next year, I have a neighbor who is on the board, but he is actually seated in District 5 or our District 5 because he was appointed to that district because he lost his race against somebody a year or so ago. But next year, if he wants to stay on the board, he has to run against me, or we have to run against each other because he was appointed and he can't run in the election in the seat that he was appointed in. So so I will actually have a challenger next year if he wants to stick it out. So yay. But yeah, our elections are a little different than yours. I sometimes long for yours. So it makes it a little easier. But yes, we have openings, 3 seats.
Any other questions for Tracy? Okay, thank you. All right, project review. We do not have any projects, so the next item is informational, and Corla's going to give us an update on PCP and the issues going on there.
Okay, here we go. Don, did you raise your hand? Are you okay?
I was going to have raised something about the long-range planning. I'm sorry, the project review. Never mind.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, at CPC, Our meeting's Thursday and CPC will be Tuesday. So a whole month goes by before we get the report. So things change. So that's why I was happy to ask Coda about that $25 million. But Mayor Gloria spoke. He spent about a half hour in the meeting and Mandy was there. Thank you, Mandy, for attending. Here are my notes from that. Mayor is vice chair of SANDAG. So if we have any issues, we can contact him on those issues. They're working on homelessness and housing. Randy Wild is his contact person for homelessness. He talked about STVRs and they will revisit it in 1 year and retweak. I feel like City Council's been ignoring OB's letter and information, but that's my personal opinion. He said they will, and I have that in all caps, enforce, and the city should make $8 or $9 million on this. And I didn't say anything, or because it's a big meeting and stuff, but we were told that program, and Mandy, you were there when all that stuff first started. City Council said they weren't going to make money on this. So I'm not sure where they're going with the STVR, but that was what he said. He said he also believes in the value of planning groups, which was good news, and he supports modifications to 600-24 to continue with Zoom, which would allow more participation. He says there are many volunteer opportunities. Excuse me. There we go. And I have an email for a contact for volunteer opportunities with the mayor's office. The other issues that we talked about at CPC was the gas and electric franchise. And we had a presentation from a group who informed us that SDG&A makes $1 million a day in profit. California pays some of the highest rates in the country. San Diego pays the highest rates in the state for distribution costs, not cost of power. Peak hours, time of use is not working because everybody is home now. And I just got an email personally from SDG&E asking me to review my plan. So what's happening with this, I'm not sure, but these people are advocating public power is lower costs. They need a conforming bid or SDG&E will get this contract, which will be a worse deal than was made in 1970. And I asked, can San Diego end up like Texas? They said no. Public utilities had no blackouts like California had last year. So I was just wondering if this group wanted to have a presentation from this group. I have the contact information from that. If anybody's interested in hearing information on that, my report will continue, but could we have a discussion about having a presentation or?
I think it's necessary just to inform the local community. Again, the prior contract, it doesn't seem again like the community is going to win on this. And so to inform everyone of what is being negotiated would be helpful, Corla.
And I'd be happy to put it, I guess if I'm around, I'd be happy to put it on the agenda for next month. So, or
Okay.
recommend whoever's in charge do it.
We have to see if we could get them. They are amenable to coming to planning groups. They start at CPC, but I'm sure they would be happy to come to our group because it was an interesting presentation, things I didn't know. So moving on from that, Vicki White from the Plan Department made a presentation on environmental justice. And this is going to be, I think, a new buzzword, SB 1000. There's a lot of health risks in disadvantaged areas that she calls focus areas. This law addresses fairness for all. The draft element is due the end of 2020, and I have Vicki White, it's vwhite@sandiego.gov. There is a survey online as they want to develop a component of the general plan. So if anybody's interested in that, I'll drop that in the chat as well. Let me be sure nobody's trying to get in. Give me 1 second. Okay. And then there was a big discussion on elections, and we're well beyond that now. So this is again outdated. And then, like I said on non-agenda, you can sign up for virtual DSD notifications. And they recommend the Livable Communities website, which discusses state bills and their impact. Senate bills 1 to 10 are housing bills. Now, this is probably not above us, but CPC does a really good job at monitoring, addressing, and keeping track of this stuff. It's too much for me. I can't track it. So you guys are welcome to start monitoring that on your own, or I can report back from CPC. So next month, Joe LaCava is going to speak on 600-24 recommendations. And there will be a DSD electronic services presentation. Actually, this will be Tuesday. And then the library master plan, Misty Jones and Patrick Stewart are going to be presenting a library update. And so if there's anything on those 3 items that anybody comes up with and wants me to address or ask questions about, the actual agenda is not out, but I know these 3 items are going to be on it because I reach out to Wally ahead of time so we can discuss just in case. So if there's anything anybody wants to ask or put on or have anything for CPC, just let me know and I'm happy to bring it up.
All right. Thank you, Corla. Any questions for Corla? All right. I'm just going to say for personal trivia, when I served on the 2010 redistricting commission, so that was 11 years ago, Joe LaCava used to come to every one of our meetings, and he was a District 1 La Jolla concerned citizen. And now he's District 1 city council person. So it's interesting to see people get involved in the community and make a difference and continue to stay involved. So I'll be interested to see what Joe has to say. All right. Well, with that, then I think we get committee reports if people want to give them. And I'll start with Mandy. I don't know if you want to give any reports on traffic or on Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, currently there's no updates. We haven't had the meetings this last month just due to the election and the turnover. So there's nothing new to report at this time. Thank you.
And Mark, as a swan song, do you want to say anything about the status of project review and what we're going to inherit?
Oh, absolutely. I first like to say that I'm not a member after the beginning of April's meeting. So I am planning on having an April 8th project review meeting that we will pass on any of the, projects being, good to pass on at that meeting. So Corla, Robert, Brad, Lucky, I think that's everybody, plan on attending. We will have one more there and hopefully we'll get it crossed over. I do plan on continuing on, if I can, with project review, like I said earlier, as a community member and help the new board member, whoever's going to be in charge of project review, do that. Yeah, there are several new projects that came about, and they're not just companion units. And I'd like to give a shout out, I think, to either Jeff Page, I think, wrote an article about the number of companion units. He calls them granny flats in his article in the OB Rag just today about how many there are in our community, District 2. And you can see the increase over the last 4 or 5 years. So we will see a continuation of those companion units, ADUs coming through, but we're also going to see some conversions of some office space into residential as well along Voltaire here in the next couple of months, which is an interesting new project type that I'm interested in seeing what the community and their reaction to that's going to be. So it's all about commercial, or it's all about residential in our neighborhood, and it's going to continue on for the next years on how much they can squeeze into our community. I'm concerned about areas in Roseville, and I'm about some of the density that we may see down there and how we can control it as it progresses. But all in all, I think we've done a good job over the last 8 years on project review, and then actually in this board. So I'm excited to see what happens in the next several years and moving forward. And I turn it over to good hands, I guess, in this case, to all the people that have come and participated in project review. Thank you. And to all the board members that past and present, thank you for helping me personally do this over the years. It's been a challenge, but it's also been rewarding. So anybody that's considering it, do it. You'll get some reward out of it, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
No.
Lucky, do you want to say something?
You're on mute.
I'm sorry. And again, in today's Union Tribune, they had a great article about short-term units or granny flats per se. And it's got some really nice bar graphs on it it shows the jump from year to year. I mean, it's like 5 times more than it was 5 years ago. And they equated that to, that's when all the rule changes about lower permits, easier parking rules, all that type of stuff started to take place. And it just, we just took off at really a graphic angle as the bar graph developed over the past 5 years. So they did, yeah, they said that it was, I think they quoted 5 times what it was 5 years ago. So that's it.
Any other questions for Mark? Mandy?
Is that project you're referring to at the Coconut Pete site along Voltaire?
You're on mute. There you go. No, you're on mute, Mark.
Mandy, this is actually the project we reviewed and approved, and it was built, Nimitz Crossing. This is the brand new Nimitz Crossing project there.
Yeah, that's already, I mean, they're accepting leases right now. Okay, I was just wondering about newer.
No, what I think what Mark is referring to is that they're going to convert the retail space on the ground floor into residential.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they're going to get rid of the restaurant. Okay.
They can't, I don't think they can lease it.
Makes sense.
I suspect that the upper Voltaire is going to have the same issue. And I bet you those ground floor units are going to go residential too.
Has the city considered changing that requirement to have retail on that first floor for the new development, just with the change to the economy and the pandemic? Have they discussed?
Well, I'll answer that one, Mandy, because it does come up in project review a lot. Anybody can build residential on commercial property, but it has to have commercial associated with it. So what we see along Voltaire is on the ground level, there is a commercial layer of development, and then above it is residential. What is happening is that they can't rent out the commercial on the ground level, and the city feels we have too much of that, so they're going to allow as a temporary use residential on the ground floor, so you can convert some of these unused tenant spaces into residential living space. And that's that's what's currently going on. It was just passed in the last couple months, this new legislation. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, but we'll let you guys have some more questions, but I think that David wants to give a progress report on the election. So and he's probably got to get back there. So David, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you. I just want to let everybody know that we are in the process, even still now, of just opening envelopes. And so we haven't even started the count. So I just want to warn everybody, don't expect results anytime in the immediate near future. We have more votes than we expected. And we have, it's a laborious process given the way the election has been put together. We have to open the envelopes, we have to confirm all of the ballots, then we have to count them all. So it's gonna take a while. So I'd say we can keep this room, I think Corley, you said you had it set up for like some ridiculous, like 10 hours or something. So we can keep it open, but what is it that I would say to my kids, don't wait up for me. So I will talk to you guys later.
All right. Well, David, I feel your pain. I remember the last election that I was chair for, they could vote for 7, right? So you get 500 people voting for 7 people, that's 3,500 votes you got to count. But if you've got 500 votes and people voting for 11, right, you got 5,500 votes. So it's a big task.
What about any type of email update if we're not on Zoom?
I'll send something out.
Okay.
I'll send an email out to the board with if I could figure out.
Okay, we're gonna get back to you tomorrow or something.
Yeah. Whatever. When we will, unlike the presidential election, we will not stop counting because we're tired and we want to go home. We'll finish, but then and then we'll report the results. But I was saying is don't wait around in this Zoom session if you don't want to, and you can just check your email later on if you're so inclined or when you get up in the morning.
And Paul will post it on the website, I'm sure, as soon as you have something official. And can you get back in that breakout room, or do I have to put you back in there?
No, I figured out how to join right back in.
Okay.
And the other thing I'll say is that Jim here told me that he wishes that I hadn't stopped that vote on his expulsion from the election committee. All right. Talk to you guys later.
All right, thanks, David. All right, do we have any other questions for Mark related to project review? I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, Corla.
Well, I don't have a question, but I got a call and I wasn't able to finish it because it came in about 10 minutes before I had to start the meeting. But you know, the hotel on the corner on Rosecrans, and we proved that, and they were only going to have snacks in the restaurant. Apparently there's an article in that OB Monthly that we just got today. It's a full-on restaurant with a big name and everything. Do you know anything about that, Mark? And what can we do about that?
Yeah, Corla, I did not hear that yet, but we can look in their coastal development agreement to see if they were permitted with a full-on restaurant or if they were permitted just with finger foods. Because if it wasn't, then it would be a violation of their coastal development permit, and they would have to go back and rectify that.
Curious. Yeah, I just heard from a community member tonight. So I read that, but I didn't see that article. I miss a lot of stuff.
And that, as I understand that, it's supposed to open up here shortly. It was supposed to open up in March, and we're in March right now. So shortly it should be open.
Well, it's looking pretty good.
Lucky, you got a question?
Yeah, brief one. Mark, I can't remember on commercial property, but aren't there some benefits by having the formula of retail on the bottom and housing above that? I know there used to be at least ways in some areas that if you had parking on the bottom, you were allowed to get extra storage space above like a 30-foot level and things. Now, does that, what my question is, by them changing the game, are they going to be able to retain certain benefits they would not have had they tried to do commercial or tried not to do commercial at all?
Lucky, that's a great question, because that's the same thing that you and I think about. Is like, okay, what are you getting away with by having to go through this process with first building it as commercial and then converting it to residential? What aren't we getting as a community, or what is the project lacking? I don't know the answer to that, and that's why it's going to be interesting to go through the exercise with this project to challenge what aren't we getting. Is it storage? Is it parking? Is it amenities? Is it balcony space? You know, all those things that are, you know, we want to have.
Yeah.
Green space, fees, right? How about the fees? You know,
Exactly.
yeah. So let's hopefully we'll get back on project review, and we can, you know, thrash it out and figure out what's the right answer there. But I don't know right off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
Don, I thought I saw your hand up. Yeah, there you go. You got to unmute yourself.
Okay, unmuted. I, for one, would like to thank Mark Krensick for his service. There's a very important committee to lead, and I think he'll be missed.
We all agree on that.
Thank you guys. Thank everybody. I really do appreciate all that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to give a brief update on the airport. I sent around the notice to everybody, but April 8th is the airport has issued the draft Part 150 study. It's out for public review and comment. There is on April 8th a public workshop from 5 o'clock to 6:30, and then from 6:30 to 8 o'clock there's a public hearing where people can make official public comments in that regard. So anyway, I was planning on participating in that, but and I've sent that to our airport committee for comments and ideas. But if anybody's interested in trying to give me comments or be involved in comments on the Part 150 noise study, now is going to be the time, because this is going to move forward in April. And I've been working with some of the people that are on the Citizens Advisory Committee and the Technical Advisory Committee. And I actually tried to get them to come to this meeting, but they had conflicts. So there's a likelihood that we may get some presentations from them about airport issues at the April planning board meeting. So that's it on airport. I don't know if we have any other committee reports. I see none. So with that, anyone who want to make a motion to adjourn? There you go. I'm gonna give it to Mark. We'll give it to Mark. We are adjourned. Everybody, good luck. It's been a challenging year, and I really appreciate everybody's efforts and everybody working together and pulling together. And we got a lot of good things done. So thank you. And everybody have a good evening, and we'll see what happens with the election.
I just posted some contact information in the chat if anybody's interested in those mayor's contact people.
And good luck to everybody that's running, right? You know, hey, let's see what happens. Get you all back on the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Watch those slates.